Mix in the Dark. Hey, what's up everyone? This is Mai Yang from Mix in the Dark. I wanted to include this podcast episode as an introduction to my Figureless Shadow series. And you guessed it, we're talking about sleep paralysis. There are many different views and lenses on sleep paralysis and why it happens. In short, there's a cultural lens and there's a medical lens to it. I'm going to talk about the medical lens first because I feel it is easier, so bear with me as I will try to keep it short and simple to prepare you for the Figureless Shadow series. Sleep paralysis, as described by a research, is a state associated with the inability to move and occurs when an individual is in the stage of just falling asleep or just waking up. To understand what happens to the brain during this state, you also need to know what REM is. REM is also known as rapid eye movement, is the stage of sleep where our minds are the most active. This is when our dreams happen. During REM, our bodies are unable to move and our minds are temporarily paralyzed. We tend to have our most emotional dreams during this stage. Sometimes our brains start to wake up when we're still in our REM or our dreaming stage, and waking up during a REM stage triggers hallucinations. So we're stuck in the middle of dreaming in real life. Our brains are working, but our bodies are not. This is then what we would call sleep paralysis. Like I said, there's also a cultural side to all of this. Usually when someone describes a sleep paralysis episode, it involves unknown shadows or dark figures or pressures on your chest or not being able to breathe. If you didn't know, these sleep paralysis episodes are oddly very similar across cultures in terms of what happens. However, the interpretations are different depending on the culture. I will only speak to the Hmong culture because that is where I feel I am most comfortable. Historically, many Hmong believed that these sleep paralysis episodes involve a distressed spirit or demon. In Hmong, we call this figure Da Jua, or a sitting demon. This demon comes and sits on his victim's chest and presses down on it. I'm not sure what exactly attracts this demon or why it does that, but if you have some insight in this, I would love to hear from you. I know my friends and I, we talk about this a lot. We share experiences with each other. And I have never really had a personal experience myself. Thank goodness I do not want one. But I have a good friend who tells me that she gets regular episodes. She would see dark shadows and hear strange noises. And it happens so often that it doesn't even scare her anymore. It became more annoying than scary to her. Anyways, enough about that. You'll hear more later. But let's take it back to 1981, when the annual rate of sudden unexpected deaths of Southeast Asian men spiked. So this is only happening to Southeast Asian men from ages 25 to 44 years old. And a good percentage of these Asian men were Hmong Laotian guys. Because there's no known causes, researchers became really interested in studying their lifestyles and any factors that may have led to these very, very strange deaths. According to a research study by Ronald G. Munger, he states that the Asian death syndrome is different from major sudden deaths in the Western populations. The sudden death in a Western adult is usually associated with atherosclerotic heart disease. So his studies and autopsy reports of the 49 cases that he was following of the Laotian and Hmong men were found to have very little to do with this heart disease. Fun fact for you, I bet some of you have already heard of this, but did you know that the movie series A Nightmare on Elm Street is based on these incidents of Laotian and Hmong men dying in their sleep? Well, film writer and director Wes Craven explained in an interview that he read an article in the LA Times about a young Laotian Hmong boy who was afraid to go to sleep because of his nightmares. And then one night his parents heard a scream from his room, and by the time they got there, he was already dead. Creepy stuff. Well, I hope you enjoyed my little history lesson on sleep paralysis. It's a little crazy out there, so please stay safe. Enjoy the Figureless Shadow series.